Meet the Parents, written by Ink in My Heart and on the Page, and read for you by Eleanor Elizabeth. Summary. Peter invites the Avengers to come and meet his girlfriend, MJ, but nobody shows up. "I'm sure they'll be here soon," Peter said. Across the table, MJ arched her brow at him before wrapping her lips around her straw. The slurp of the nearly empty milkshake sounded loud in the quiet cafe. Peter craned his neck, looking out the window once again. There was no sign of the familiar figures approaching the building. Disappointment flooded through Peter. He turned away from the window, tapping his phone so the screen lit up. The numbers on the clock flashed at him, only highlighting the fact that his guests were nearly an hour late. There were no missed calls or any text messages. "I'm sorry," Peter apologized again, wincing as he looked at MJ. MJ gave a half shrug. Peter sighed, slumping in his chair. Today was the day that Tony and the Avengers were going to meet MJ. Peter had planned the whole thing, taking time to find the right location, and he'd settled on a local cafe, thinking the relaxed location wouldn't put as much pressure on anyone, and a day that would suit everyone. Everyone had agreed, and Peter had been excited. There were very few people who knew all of Peter, and he wanted them to get along. It was important to him that his team, his family, knew of MJ and understood how important, special, kind, and smart she was. At first, he'd been nervous about the idea. He really wanted the introduction to go well, but nobody had shown up. MJ's soft fingers curled around Peter's, and she squeezed them. "I have to get going." Heart dropping in his chest, Peter gave a slow nod. "Yeah, okay." "This isn't your fault." MJ squeezed his hand again. "I know." Peter gave a half-hearted smile. "Sorry about wasting your afternoon." "It wasn't a waste." MJ stood and leaned over, kissing Peter lightly on the lips. She gave him a small, genuine smile, one that was reserved just for him. "See you later." "Bye." Peter's smile grew more genuine. He waved as she left the cafe, and when he could no longer see her, he slumped back in his seat. Picking up his phone, he scowled when he saw there were still no messages or missed calls. With a huff, he got up, threw down a tip for the waitress, and left the cafe. Anger swirled, and disappointment swelled under his skin as he headed for home. This was not the way this day was supposed to go. "All right," Tony said as he breezed into the compound gym. "Let's get this over with. I'm a busy man." "We're waiting on you," Steve smirked, shaking his head at Tony's antics. "You and Peter. Is he with you?" "Peter's not here yet?" Tony's cocky grin fell from his face. "Kid's usually the first one here." "Not today, he's not." Clint glanced up from where he was polishing an arrow. Tony frowned. "Friday, call Peter." "Calling now, boss," Friday responded. It didn't take long for the call to connect, and Peter's voice was filling the gym. "Hi, Mr. Stark." "Kid, is everything all right? You're not at training?" Tony asked. "I'm fine. I'm just not coming to training," Peter responded. "Not coming," Tony repeated slowly, shooting a confused look to the others. Everyone had paused in their movements, each sporting a look of confusion. Peter loved training. He never missed a session. He even tried to train after a stab wound that hadn't completely healed yet. Tony had almost had to tie him to the bed to get him to stay still. "Gotta go, Mr. Stark. Bye." The call ended before Tony could even respond. "What the hell was that?" Tony asked at the stunned group. "Should we go and check on him?" Sam asked. "Absolutely," Tony agreed, face going hard. "He's mad at you." Everyone jumped at the female voice. Tony whirled around, spotting the intruder. It was a teenager, looking no older than Peter. She looked vaguely familiar as she leaned up casually against the wait station that was set up off to the side. "Who are you?" Steve frowned heavily. "How did you get in here?" "Like it's hard," the girl drawled as she rolled her eyes. "I know you." Tony's eyes narrowed. "You're a friend of Peter's. MJ." MJ nodded in confirmation. "I'm his girlfriend, actually, but you would know that if you showed up at the cafe yesterday." Tony was about to demand what the hell she was talking about when a cold dread went through him. His stomach churned, his heart stumbling in his chest. "Shit," Tony swore. "Yep," MJ said, popping the pea. "You screwed up." "What is she talking about?" Bruce asked, leaning into Tony. "Peter, he's mad at us because we forgot about meeting his girlfriend yesterday," Tony said resignedly. "We screwed up. Big time." Around him, the Avengers shifted guiltily. It had completely slipped Tony's mind about the meeting. He'd gotten so caught up with work, like he usually did, that the rest of the world had fallen away. He was the worst person in the world. I don't care. MJ walked closer to the group. Your approval of me means nothing, but I do care about Peter. A lot. And you guys screwed up. She glared at the group. He was really excited to introduce me to his family. Tony felt as if she just delivered a kick to his gut. He had royally screwed up. They all had. Oh, shit, Clint muttered. An understatement, MJ glared. My boyfriend looks like a kicked puppy, and that's your fault. Fix it, or I'll come back here in the middle of the night and rearrange your faces. Tony gulped, and he felt the Avengers shift behind him. MJ gave them a searching look. She seemed satisfied with what she saw, gave them a nod, and turned on her heel and left them all standing there. Well, she's terrifying, Sam grunted. Peter has good taste, Natasha nodded approvingly. He does, Tony agreed, and turned to face the whole group. We need to fix this. Now. Tony Stark is standing out front of our school, Ned gasped. Yeah, I can see that, Ned, Peter sighed. The rest of the school had noticed too, as they stood in a wide circle, staring at the billionaire. Tony stood leaning against his car, sunglasses perched on his nose, and looking casual despite everyone staring at him. When he saw Peter, he raised a hand in greeting. Every eye turned to Peter. With a small groan, Peter raised his hand back in greeting. On his other side, MJ elbowed him hard in the side, causing Peter to yelp. What was that for? Peter glared. He's reaching out, MJ said. Talk to him, make him beg a little, and then you can go back to your smiling father-son relationship. I don't know what you're talking about, Peter grumbled. MJ elbowed him again, more gently this time. Yes, you do. Let him make it right. You're good for each other. Now go. Thanks. Peter smiled softly. He pressed a quick kiss to MJ's cheek and slapped Ned on the back before he bounded over to Tony. Hey kid, Tony greeted. Want a ride? Sure. Peter shrugged. Tony opened the door for him and Peter slid into the car. The car door cut off the chatter of the students that was growing. A second later, Tony was in the front seat and pulling into traffic. How was school? Tony asked. Peter shifted awkwardly at the small talk. It was fine. Tony nodded. That's one hell of a girlfriend you got yourself. And I would have known that sooner if I'd turned up at the cafe. Peter turned to Tony, jaw going slack. He didn't expect Tony to admit that he was in the wrong. He hadn't expected him to bring it up so quickly. I'm sorry, kid, Tony continued. We screwed up. This was an important thing to you, and you wanted to share it with us. And we didn't even show up. We broke your trust, and for that, I am so sorry. Peter opened his mouth to speak, but Tony cut him off. And don't say it's okay, because it isn't. We have a lot to do to prove that we care about you, kid. But if you'll let us, we want to start today. Peter chewed his lip. Did you not come because you thought it was stupid? The thought had been eating away at Peter, giving him restless sleep. Since meeting Tony, their relationship had only grown closer and closer. Peter had thought that they were heading towards a father-son relationship. They certainly seemed to be headed that way, or so Peter had thought. Now he wasn't so sure. No, Peter, not at all, Tony said, his voice so firm that Peter believed him. That was us being assholes. The things that are important to you are not stupid, and I'm sorry we made you feel that way. Peter relaxed back into the leather seat, relief washing through him. Thank you for saying that. Tony glanced at him, his expression soft. I should have said it sooner. Thank you, Peter said. So, will you meet MJ again? Tony swallowed. Sure. Peter narrowed his eyes. Wait, are you scared of MJ? Scared? Pfft, no, Tony scoffed. I'm terrified of her. We all are. She got past compound security, Peter. Peter sniggered. She's amazing. She's something, all right, Tony huffed, but he was smiling. Glad you're happy, kiddo. Peter smiled shyly. Thanks. As they drove through traffic, Peter felt better about his relationship with Tony. Maybe soon he would work up the courage to call him Dad.